My parents threatened to remove me from Grandma's will for missing my sister's wedding to attend our forgotten sister's graduation, so I stayed silent. That was 5 months ago. They don't know I'm now executor of a different $2.3M estate while they mortgage their house for legal fees. My third youngest sister, Erin, is the favorite kid. She was the last baby my parents wanted, and the two younger kids were both surprises. Erin was meant to complete our family. Erin's getting married and recently told us that she's brought the date forward due to a cancellation. But the new date lands on the date of my second youngest sister, Nadia's high school graduation. Erin was sympathetic, but said she's already committed to the date, and they've printed the invitations. My parents said that they'd just have to miss Nadia's graduation. We were all sympathetic to Nadia, but it wasn't intentional, or so I thought. You see, Nadia later told me and my older brother Leo that she was there when Erin got the call about the cancellation and when Erin suggested a new date. Nadia told Erin that she was graduating that day, but Erin just laughed and accepted the date anyway. This, as much as I hate to admit it, sounds like a very Erin thing to do. She booked her engagement party for the night of Nadia's 18th birthday. She also announced her engagement at my oldest sister's wedding. Everything is about her. I confronted Erin about this, and she said that Nadia's high school graduation didn't matter. She wanted to get married to the love of her life sooner, and our family had been to plenty of high school graduations at this point anyway. Here's what gets me the most. Nadia's been looking forward to this for so long. She's watched all of us graduate and have these huge celebrations thrown by our parents. I asked Nadia what she wanted, and she said she wanted to have her day. So, I told my family that Nadia won't be attending the wedding. My brother Leo has also dropped out. Everyone's angry. Erin's furious, and I didn't make it better by telling her that I could watch our other siblings get married, since it's all the same in her eyes. Mom's trying to convince me to come to the wedding because graduation isn't as important, but I feel like if I don't do it, then it sets a precedent in Nadia's life that she's always going to mean less than Erin. I've had messages calling me an eye-hole, an idiot, etc. They're telling me to step up and be a good brother, but that's what I'm doing. My son is supposed to be the ring bearer, but with how my family is reacting, I'm considering pulling him out of the wedding too. My dad told Nadia he'll take her to dinner after the wedding. Nadia's currently staying with me because Mom won't let her. Charles cornered her. I packed another box of Nadia's things while she sat on my couch, scrolling through her phone. Her hands shook slightly as she showed me the family group chat. Message after message from aunts, uncles, and cousins, all variations of the same theme. How could we do this to Erin? How could we ruin her special day? My wife Sarah walked in carrying our son's breakfast. She'd been nothing but supportive since this whole mess started. She set the plate down and squeezed Nadia's shoulder before heading back to the kitchen. That small gesture made Nadia's eyes water. The doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. Through the peephole, I saw Mom standing there with her arms crossed. I opened the door but blocked the entrance with my body. "You need to fix this," she said without preamble. "Your sister is devastated." "Which sister?" I asked. Her face flushed. "Don't be smart with me, Charles. You know exactly what you're doing." Behind me, I heard Nadia's footsteps retreating to the guest room. Mom tried to peer around me, but I shifted to block her view. "Erin chose this date knowing it was Nadia's graduation," I said. She admitted it to me. "So what? We've been to 5 graduations already. Your father and I are tired of them. Then you should have stopped having kids after Erin." The words came out harsher than I intended, but I didn't take them back. Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She turned on her heel and marched back to her car, slamming the door hard enough to make the neighbor's dog bark. I found Nadia in the guest room, sitting on the bed with her graduation cap in her hands. She'd decorated it herself with quotes from her favorite books and tiny painted stars. The tassel was already adjusted to the correct side. "I worked so hard," she whispered. 4 years of advanced classes. I gave the freshman orientation speech. I tutored kids after school. I thought this time would be different. I sat beside her and noticed the acceptance letter from State University peeking out from her backpack. Full academic scholarship. None of us had managed that. Not even Erin with all her advantages. My phone buzzed. Leo calling. I stepped into the hallway to answer. "Dad just called me," Leo said. "Threatened to take me out of the will if I don't show up to the wedding." "What did you tell him?" "That he could keep his money. I'm not missing another one of Nadia's milestones." I heard construction noise in the background. Leo had taken the morning off work to deal with family drama, something he never did. "He's also been calling my ex," Leo continued, "trying to get her to convince me. Can you believe that?" After we hung up, I checked my work email. 3 missed calls from my manager. I'd already put in for the day off for the wedding, but now I needed to change it to graduation day. That conversation would be fun. Sarah appeared in the doorway with coffee. "Your sister's here," she said quietly. My stomach dropped. "Which one?" "Take a guess." I found Erin in my living room, examining our family photos on the mantel. She wore designer workout clothes, and her engagement ring caught the morning light. 4 carats. She'd made sure everyone knew. "You're being ridiculous," she said without turning around. "All this drama over a high school graduation? All this drama over moving your wedding date when you knew it conflicted?" She spun to face me. "The venue had a cancellation. Do you know how hard it is to book the Riverside Country Club? There's a 2-year waiting list, and there was no other date available? Not in June. I want a June wedding. I've always wanted a June wedding." And Nadia's always wanted her family at her graduation. Erin rolled her eyes. God, you act like she's some tragic, neglected child. She has everything she needs. When was the last time Mom went to one of her school events? That's not. When was the last time Dad asked about her grades, or her friends, or anything? You're being dramatic. Name one of her friends. Erin's silence spoke volumes. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, but turned back with her hand on the knob. Jeff's family is flying in from Seattle. His grandmother is 93. This might be her last chance to see him get married. And this is Nadia's only high school graduation. I'm not changing the date. Then we're not coming. She slammed the door even harder than Mom had. I returned to find Nadia in the kitchen with Sarah. They were looking at graduation dresses on Sarah's tablet. Nothing fancy, just simple sundresses that would look nice under the polyester gown. I like the blue one, Nadia said softly. It matches your eyes, Sarah agreed. We could go shopping this afternoon if you want. Nadia glanced at me uncertainly. Is that okay? I mean, with everything happening? Of course it's okay, I said. Get whatever dress you want. This is your day. My phone rang again. Dad, this time. I let it go to voicemail. The next few hours brought a parade of relatives to my door. My oldest sister called to say I was tearing the family apart. My uncle texted that I should be ashamed. Erin's maid of honor, someone I'd known since middle school, unfriended me on social media with a lengthy public post about loyalty. Through it all, Nadia stayed quiet. She helped Sarah with lunch, played with my son, and pretended not to notice every time my phone buzzed with another angry message. Around 2 o'clock, she finally broke. I found her crying in the backyard, hidden behind the garden shed where she thought no one would see. Maybe I should just tell everyone to go to the wedding, she said. It's not worth destroying the family. I sat on the grass beside her, not caring about the dirt. Do you remember Erin's high school graduation? She nodded, wiping her nose with her sleeve. Mom threw her a party with 100 guests. Dad gave a speech about how proud he was. They hired a photographer. I remember. Do you remember mine? You had the barbecue with the bounce house. I was 8. I threw up from too much cake. What about Leo's? The one at the Italian restaurant. He got that watch from Grandpa. I waited while she connected the dots. They celebrated everyone, she said quietly. Everyone but me. This isn't about one graduation, Nadia. This is about 18 years of being overlooked. And if we don't draw the line now, it'll be another 18 years. Then your college graduation. Then your wedding. Then your kids' birthdays. She leaned against my shoulder. What if they never forgive us? What if you never forgive yourself for giving in? We sat there until Sarah called us in for coffee. Nadia had grass stains on her jeans and puffy eyes, but she also had something else. A tiny spark of determination that hadn't been there before. That evening, while Sarah gave our son a bath, I helped Nadia write her graduation speech. She was salutatorian, something she'd mentioned only once at family dinner. Mom had been too busy discussing wedding flowers to respond. I want to thank the people who believed in me, she read from her draft, even when it felt like no one was watching. That's perfect, I said. She made a few more notes, then set the paper aside. Charles, why are you doing this? Really? I thought about all the times I'd watched her light dim at family gatherings, the way she'd learned to announce her achievements quietly, almost apologetically, the way she'd stopped trying to compete for attention she was never going to get. Because someone should have done it a long time ago, I said. And because you're my sister. The real question is why it took me so long. My phone lit up with another call from Mom. This time, Nadia reached over and declined it for me. 67 messages today, she said. I counted. From how many people? 12. But Aunt Carol sent 15 by herself. We both laughed, which felt strange given the circumstances, but also necessary. Leo arrived after dinner with a duffel bag. Mom changed the locks, he said. I'm not welcome until I come to my senses. You can have the couch, I offered. Already made it up, Sarah called from the living room. And there's leftover lasagna in the fridge. As Leo headed inside, he ruffled Nadia's hair like he used to when they were kids. We've got your back, kid. Always have. Even if we didn't always show it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my phone, watching the family group chat explode with messages. Erin had posted a long message about how devastated she was. She couldn't believe her brothers would abandon her on the most important day of her life. The irony wasn't lost on me. Around midnight, I found Nadia in the kitchen making tea. She couldn't sleep either. I heard what happened at the boutique, she said quietly. I'd hoped she wouldn't find out. When Sarah and Nadia had gone dress shopping, they'd run into Erin's wedding party at the same mall. The confrontation had been ugly, with Erin's friends surrounding Nadia and calling her selfish until mall security intervened. Sarah handled it, I said. She's tougher than she looks. Erin's friend said I've always been jealous of her, that I've spent my whole life trying to steal her spotlight. That's ridiculous. Is it? Nadia stared into her mug. Maybe I should have picked a different career, or different hobbies, or tried less hard in school. Maybe if I'd been less like her, they would have noticed me for me. You're nothing like Erin. We have the same eyes, the same hair color. We both like to read, though she stopped in college. We both played piano until she quit to focus on cheerleading. Surface things, I said. You're kind. You're thoughtful. You notice when people are struggling. You remember birthdays without Facebook reminders. You show up. Erin shows up. She just makes sure everyone knows it. I couldn't argue with that. The next morning brought more drama. Dad arrived at 6:30, pounding on the door until Leo answered. The shouting match on my front lawn woke the entire neighborhood. Dad called us ungrateful. Leo called him blind. I stood between them while curtains twitched up and down the street. She's your sister, Dad yelled. Family comes first. Exactly, Leo shot back. So where's your loyalty to Nadia? Don't you turn this around on me. We've given that girl everything. Name one birthday present you bought her last year. Dad's face went red, then purple. He stormed back to his car, but not before announcing that we were no longer his sons. The dramatics were so over the top that Mrs. de Patterson next door laughed. Inside, Nadia sat at the kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a coffee mug. He's right, she said. Family should come first. You are family, I reminded her. Not the right kind. Sarah swooped in with pancakes and a determination to make this a normal morning. My son chattered about his preschool field trip while Leo helped him cut his food. For a few minutes, we could pretend we were just a regular family having breakfast. Then, Erin texted me a photo of her wedding dress with the caption, "This is what you're missing." I showed it to Nadia. She studied it for a moment, then pulled up a photo on her phone, her graduation cap and gown. This is what they're missing, she said. The graduation dress shopping trip that afternoon turned into another battlefield. Sarah drove while I stayed home with Leo to avoid any more surprise visits. They'd barely been gone an hour when Sarah called. "We have a situation," she said, her voice tight. "Your mother's here at the mall with Erin and her entire bridal party." I grabbed my keys while Leo watched my son. By the time I arrived at Macy's, I could hear the commotion from the escalator. A crowd had gathered near the formal wear section where Mom stood with her arms crossed, blocking Nadia's path to the dressing rooms. "You're being selfish," Mom said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Your sister needs you at her wedding. This little rebellion has gone far enough." Nadia clutched the simple blue dress to her chest, her knuckles white. Sarah stood protectively beside her, but she was outnumbered. Erin's bridesmaids formed a semicircle, their matching team bride shirts making them look like some sort of wedding militia. "There's nothing selfish about wanting her family at her graduation," I said, pushing through the crowd. Mom whirled on me. "This is your doing. You've poisoned her against her sister. Nadia can think for herself. Not, or she wouldn't be throwing away family for some meaningless ceremony." A store manager approached, clearly uncomfortable. "Perhaps we could take this conversation somewhere more private." "We're leaving," I said, guiding Nadia toward the exit. But Erin stepped into our path, her perfectly manicured nails digging into Nadia's arm. "You're going to regret this," she hissed. "When you're sitting alone at your pathetic graduation, remember that you chose this. You chose to destroy our family." Nadia yanked her arm free. "I didn't choose anything. You did when you picked my graduation day for your wedding. It's just a coincidence." "You already admitted it wasn't," I reminded her. Erin's face went red. "Fine, yes, I picked the date on purpose. So what? I'm the one getting married. I'm the one who deserves the spotlight, not some nobody who'll probably flunk out of college anyway." The words hung in the air like poison. Even Mom looked shocked. Nadia's face crumpled, and she fled toward the parking lot. Sarah ran after her while I stayed to face my family. "There it is," I said quietly. "The truth finally comes out." Mom recovered quickly, her shock morphing into defensiveness. She didn't mean it that way. How else could she possibly mean it? Erin's under a lot of stress with the wedding. Stop making excuses for her. The words exploded out of me, drawing stares from passing shoppers. "You've been making excuses for 28 years. When does it end?" I left them standing there and found Sarah comforting Nadia by our cars. We drove home in silence, the blue dress forgotten at the store. That evening, Nadia locked herself in the guest room and wouldn't come out for dinner. The next morning, I woke to find my front door spray painted with the word "traitor" in red letters. Leo was already outside with paint remover, scrubbing at the mess. "Security camera caught everything," he said. "Want to guess who did it?" I didn't need to guess. The handwriting was familiar from years of birthday cards. Our cousin Charles, Erin's most devoted flying monkey, had always been eager to do her bidding. "Should we call the police?" Sarah asked from the doorway. "No," I said. "That's what she wants. More drama, more attention." But the vandalism was just the beginning. Over the next 3 days, our lives became a series of escalating attacks. Someone called my workplace claiming I was embezzling funds, triggering an internal investigation. Leo's construction site received multiple false safety complaints. Sarah's yoga studio was review-bombed online with accusations of discrimination. Through it all, Nadia grew quieter. She stopped eating, stopped working on her graduation speech, and stopped responding to texts from her friends. I found her one evening staring at her laptop screen, which displayed a message from the school. "They're saying there might not be enough seats for all the guests," she said numbly. "Because of venue capacity. They're asking some students to limit their invitations. We'll figure it out," I assured her. "No, you don't understand." She turned the laptop toward me. "Someone called the school claiming our family was planning to disrupt the ceremony. Now they're threatening to have security remove anyone who causes a disturbance." My phone rang before I could respond. An unknown number, but I recognized Jeff's voice immediately. "We need to talk," he said, without Erin knowing. I met him at a coffee shop downtown. He looked exhausted, stress lines creasing his forehead. Not exactly the picture of pre-wedding bliss. "I'm starting to see what you meant," he said without preamble. "About Erin. These past few days she's been different. Different how? Obsessed. She's spent every waking moment plotting ways to force you all to attend. She's called your employers, your neighbors, even tracked down Nadia's college roommate assignment to warn them about her." My blood ran cold. "She did what?" "That's not the worst part." He pulled out his phone, showing me a text thread. "She's been messaging with someone about hiring actors to fill the empty seats at the wedding, and she's planning something for the graduation. I don't know what, but she keeps saying Nadia will learn her lesson." I screenshot everything before he could change his mind. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm starting to realize I might be marrying someone I don't know." He rubbed his face. "My grandmother called yesterday. Said she's not comfortable attending anymore. That this whole situation feels wrong. It is wrong. I know. He stood to leave, then paused. Watch out for Nadia. Aaron's more dangerous when she feels cornered. His warning proved prophetic. The next day, Nadia received an email that appeared to be from State University. Her scholarship had been revoked due to character concerns raised by family members. She sobbed for hours before I managed to reach the admissions office and confirm it was fake. How did she even create such a realistic email? Sarah wondered. Leo had the answer. Remember Aaron's ex, who worked in IT? They're still friends. The psychological warfare continued. Nadia's graduation announcements mysteriously disappeared from the mail. Her cap and gown order was cancelled without her knowledge. Someone changed her graduation ticket request to 0 guests. Each attack was carefully crafted to look like a system error or miscommunication. Nothing we could definitively trace back to Aaron, though we all knew the source. 3 nights before the graduation, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Someone had thrown a brick through our living room window with a note attached. Last chance to choose the right sister. This time, I did call the police. The officer who responded looked tired as he took our statement. Family disputes, he muttered. They're always the worst. You sure you can't just work this out? Even law enforcement thought we were being dramatic. I wanted to scream. The next morning brought a new crisis. Mom appeared at my door with legal documents. Grandma's will, she said, her voice cold. She's considering changes, removing certain people who've shown they don't value family. Grandma had died 2 years ago, leaving everything in a trust that Mom controlled. The threat was clear. Attend the wedding or lose your inheritance. Is that really what you've become? I asked. Someone who uses money to control your children? I'm trying to save this family. You're trying to control this family. There's a difference. She left the papers on my porch. I threw them in the trash. That afternoon, while Sarah took Nadia to replace her cap and gown, Leo and I installed security cameras around my house. We were halfway through when our phones buzzed simultaneously. A group text from Dad with a photo attached. It was a picture of Erin in her wedding dress, surrounded by her bridesmaids, all holding signs that read, "Wish you were here." The caption, "Since some people can't be bothered to support family." Emotional manipulation level. Expert, Leo muttered. But Nadia's response surprised us all. She grabbed my phone and typed, "Beautiful dress. Hope the weather holds for your outdoor ceremony." There was no outdoor ceremony. The wedding was at the country club's ballroom. But within minutes, Erin was calling everyone, panicking about potential rain, demanding to know how Nadia knew about the venue change that didn't exist. Sometimes the best defense is to make them paranoid, Nadia said with a small smile. It was the first time she'd smiled in days. The graduation eve arrived with one final assault. Extended family members had been calling all week, but now the pressure intensified. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends, everyone had an opinion about our selfishness. The worst call came from our eldest sister. She'd been traveling abroad and had just learned about the situation. "I'm flying back for the wedding," she announced, "and you should be there too." "Did you hear the part about it being scheduled on Nadia's graduation?" I asked. "I heard, and I think you're all being ridiculous. It's one day. Nadia can celebrate another time." "When?" I demanded. "When has Nadia ever gotten to celebrate? Name one time." The silence stretched before she hung up. That night, we held our pre-graduation celebration. Just the 5 of us. Me, Sarah, Leo, Nadia, and my son. We ordered pizza, played board games, and pretended the outside world didn't exist. Nadia laughed when my son put a puzzle piece in his nose. "Thank you," she whispered later while we cleaned up. "For everything. Even if tomorrow is a disaster, this moment made it worth it. Tomorrow won't be a disaster," I promised. "You're going to walk across that stage with your head held high, and we'll be cheering louder than anyone." My phone buzzed with another message from Mom. "Last chance. The family is gathering at 8 a.m. for wedding prep. We expect you there." I showed it to Nadia. She took my phone and typed the response herself. "The family is gathering at 10 a.m. for graduation. You're welcome to join us." Mom's response was immediate. "You've made your choice. Don't expect us to forgive this." "I've lived 18 years without their attention," Nadia said quietly. "I can live the rest without their forgiveness." Leo raised his beer. "To the graduate, and to finally stand up to the golden child." We clinked glasses, even letting my son join with his juice box. Tomorrow would bring whatever it would bring, but tonight, we were exactly where we needed to be. The morning of June 15th dawned bright and clear. I woke early to find Nadia already dressed in her cap and gown, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, practicing her speech. "You ready for this?" I asked. She nodded, then shook her head, then nodded again. "I keep thinking they'll show up, that they'll choose me just this once, and if they don't, then at least I'll know for sure where I stand." Sarah made a special breakfast while Leo entertained my son. We took pictures in the backyard, Nadia glowing despite the family drama. She looked beautiful in her simple dress, the one she'd eventually bought without interference. As we prepared to leave for the ceremony, Jeff called again. "I wanted to warn you," he said, speaking quickly. "Erin hired a photographer to go to the graduation. She wants pictures of the empty seats where family should be for some kind of social media post." "Let her," I said. "She'll be surprised by what she finds." What Erin didn't know was that word had spread beyond our immediate family. Her petty actions had reached cousins who'd stayed quiet, aunts who'd been neutral, and family friends who'd watched from the sidelines. Not everyone agreed with the wedding boycott, but many were disgusted by her escalating attacks on an 18-year-old girl. We arrived at the school to find a line of familiar faces. Aunt Carol, who'd sent all those angry texts, stood near the entrance with a graduation card. "I was wrong," she said simply. handing it to Nadia. Your mother asked me to take sides without telling me the whole story. Inside the auditorium, our section wasn't empty at all. Former teachers who'd heard about the situation, neighbors who'd witnessed the family meltdown, even Mrs. Patterson, who'd laughed at Dad's dramatics. They all came to fill the seats our parents had abandoned. Is this all for me? Nadia whispered, tears streaming down her face. You touched more lives than you knew, Sarah said, squeezing her hand. The ceremony began with the usual pomp and circumstance. When they called Nadia's name for her salutatorian speech, the applause from our section was thunderous. She walked to the podium with confidence I'd never seen before. Good morning, everyone. I want to start by thanking the people who chose to be here today. Your presence means more than you know. She looked directly at our section. Someone once told me that family isn't just about blood, it's about who shows up when it matters. Today, I learned how true that is. Her speech was beautiful, touching on perseverance, self-worth, and the courage to stand up for yourself. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in our section. As the graduates filed out after receiving their diplomas, my phone buzzed with messages from the wedding. The photographer Erin hired for the graduation had sent her live updates, pictures of Nadia's packed cheering section, videos of her standing ovation, shots of the flowers various friends had brought. The final text was from Mom. We made a mistake, but it was too late for regrets. They'd chosen their side, and we'd chosen ours. As we celebrated at lunch afterward, surrounded by the people who'd supported Nadia, I realized something important. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into, and sometimes standing up for what's right means accepting that some bridges are meant to burn. Nadia kept her tassel from that day, hanging it in her dorm room next to a photo from our celebration lunch. Not a single picture from the wedding made it to her wall. She'd finally learned her worth, and no amount of family pressure could take that away. The real victory wasn't in the packed auditorium or the standing ovation. It was in the quiet moment afterward, when Nadia hugged me and said, I'm glad I stood up for myself. Thank you for showing me how. That was worth more than any wedding invitation or inheritance threat. That was worth everything. The celebration lunch was in full swing when Jeff walked through the restaurant door. Every conversation stopped. He stood there in his wedding tux, boutonniere wilting, scanning the room until his eyes landed on our table. Sarah's hand tightened on my arm. Leo shifted in his seat, ready to stand, but Nadia surprised us all by waving him over. Congratulations on your wedding, she said as he approached. Jeff's laugh was bitter. There wasn't one. I called it off 2 hours before the ceremony. The entire restaurant seemed to lean in. Jeff pulled out an empty chair and collapsed into it, running his hands through his perfectly styled hair until it stuck up in all directions. After seeing those photos from here, seeing how many people showed up for you, he looked directly at Nadia. I realized I was about to marry someone who would deliberately hurt her sister just to be the center of attention. When I confronted Erin about it, she said you deserved it for trying to steal her thunder. My phone started buzzing immediately. The family group chat exploded with messages I didn't bother reading. Jeff continued talking, words spilling out like he'd been holding them back for weeks. Her parents are at the venue right now, trying to convince guests it's just a delay, but I'm done. I told everyone the truth before I left. He pulled off his boutonniere and tossed it on the table. Erin's probably destroying the bridal suite as we speak. Leo's phone rang, then Sarah's, then mine again. We all declined the calls, but they kept coming. Finally, Nadia answered hers. I could hear Mom screaming from across the table. Nadia held the phone away from her ear, letting everyone hear the stream of accusations. When Mom finally paused for breath, Nadia spoke calmly. I'm at my graduation lunch. You're welcome to join us if you can be civil. She hung up. Jeff stared at her with something like awe. How are you so calm? I've had 18 years of practice being disappointed by them, Nadia said. Today, I'm choosing not to let it ruin my celebration. The restaurant manager appeared with a cake. Apparently, Aunt Carol had called ahead and arranged it. As we sang happy graduation to Nadia, more people arrived. Cousins who'd left the wedding venue, family friends who'd chosen sides, even some of Erin's bridesmaids who'd finally seen through her manipulation. Each new arrival brought fresh information. The country club was in chaos. Erin had locked herself in the bridal suite and was throwing things. Dad was trying to salvage the situation by offering guests free drinks. Mom had cornered the photographer, demanding he delete all the graduation photos. She tried to grab his camera, one of the bridesmaids reported. Security had to intervene. My phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. This is Dr. Gabrielle Lee from Riverside Country Club, a calm voice said. I'm the event coordinator. We have a situation here, and your parents suggested you might be able to help. I doubt that, I said. Your sister has barricaded herself in our bridal suite and is causing significant damage. She's demanding to speak with someone named Nadia. We're prepared to call the police, but your parents are begging for one more chance to resolve this privately. I looked at Nadia, who'd heard every word. She shook her head, but then surprised me by taking the phone. This is Nadia, she said. Tell Erin I'll speak with her on one condition. She has to come here, to my graduation lunch, and apologize in front of everyone. Dr. Lee relayed the message. I could hear Erin's shrieking response even from several feet away. Nadia ended the call and returned to her cake. She won't come, Leo said. I know, Nadia replied, but now everyone at that wedding knows I gave her the chance. 20 minutes later, our parents arrived. Dad's tux was rumpled. Mom's elaborate updo had fallen apart. They stood in the doorway of the restaurant like they'd stumbled into a foreign country. The entire room watched as they approached our table. Mom's eyes were red-rimmed, and Dad's face was set in hard lines. They looked older than I'd ever seen them. How could you do this? Mom asked, but the fight had gone out of her voice. We didn't do anything, I said. We attended a graduation. Jeff made his own choice. You turned him against her, Dad accused. Jeff stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. Nobody turned me against anyone. I saw who Erin is, and I refused to marry someone that cruel. You want someone to blame? Look in the mirror. You created this by letting her believe she was more important than everyone else. He threw cash on the table for his meal and walked out. Through the window, we watched him get into his car and drive away, wedding cans still rattling behind him. Mom sank into Jeff's abandoned chair. The wedding is ruined. Everything's ruined. Nadia's graduation went beautifully, Sarah pointed out. So not everything. Dad's phone rang. He answered it, his face going pale as he listened. The police are at the country club, he said when he hung up. Erin attacked the photographer when he refused to delete the graduation pictures. They're arresting her, Mom wailed. Dad rubbed his temples. Around us, the graduation lunch continued, though everyone was pretending not to stare at our family drama unfolding in real time. We need to go, Dad said, pulling Mom to her feet. Wait, Nadia said. They turned back, hope flickering in their eyes. My offer stands. I'll help with Erin if you apologize. Here, now, in front of everyone. The silence stretched. Mom's mouth opened and closed. Dad's jaw worked like he was chewing words he couldn't spit out. Finally, they left without saying anything. Well, Aunt Carol said into the silence, I think this calls for champagne. The mood lifted again as glasses were raised to Nadia. She gave an impromptu speech, thanking everyone for choosing to celebrate with her. When she sat down, her phone had a text from an unknown number. It was a selfie from Erin in the back of a police car, mascara streaking down her face, still in her wedding dress. The caption read, "This is all your fault." Nadia deleted it without responding. The lunch continued for another hour. People shared stories about their own experiences with family favoritism, bonds forming between cousins who'd barely spoken before. When the bill came, we discovered Jeff had paid for the entire party on his way out. As we prepared to leave, the restaurant manager pulled me aside. That gentleman left something else, she said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a check made out to Nadia for $10,000. The memo line read, "For your college expenses. You deserve every opportunity. Jeff." I showed it to Nadia privately. She stared at it for a long moment, then carefully folded it into her purse. "I'll think about whether to cash it," she said. We drove home to find news vans in front of my house. Someone at the country club had filmed Erin's meltdown and posted it online. Bridezilla attacks photographer at $50,000 wedding was already trending. Leo and I formed a human shield to get Nadia inside. Sarah dealt with the reporters, giving them nothing but a polite no comment before closing the door. My phone had hundreds of notifications. The family group chat had devolved into choosing sides, with relatives I hadn't heard from in years weighing in. Erin had been released on bail and was posting increasingly unhinged social media rants about being betrayed by her family. Should we respond? Leo asked, scrolling through his phone. No, Nadia said firmly. Let her show everyone who she is without our help. That evening, as we sat exhausted in my living room, Dad called. His voice was hollow, defeated. The country club is suing for damages, he said. Erin destroyed the bridal suite, broke mirrors, tore curtains, smashed champagne bottles, $20,000 in damages. That's unfortunate, I said. Your mother and I need to take out a loan to cover it. The money we saved for Nadia's college fund will have to go toward legal fees. The irony was so thick I could taste it. They'd spent years ignoring Nadia's achievements, and now they were spending her college fund on Erin's tantrum. Jeff left Nadia money for college, I said, so she'll be fine without your help, just like she's always been. Dad hung up without saying goodbye. The next morning brought more chaos. Erin had been fired from her marketing job after the viral video surfaced. She'd moved back in with our parents and was refusing to leave her childhood room. Mom called, begging us to talk to her, but we all declined. 3 days later, Nadia left for freshman orientation at State University. We drove her to campus, the car loaded with everything she owned. As we unpacked her dorm room, her roommate arrived, a cheerful girl named Sasha, who'd already heard about the graduation drama. You're kind of famous, Sasha said. That video of your sister has like 2 million views. Nadia winced. I was hoping to start fresh here. Are you kidding? Everyone thinks you're a hero for standing up to her. My whole floor wants to meet you. As we said goodbye, Nadia hugged each of us tightly. Thank you for choosing me, she whispered. Thank you for seeing me. 2 weeks into the semester, Nadia called with news. She'd been selected for an honors program that included a mentorship with a renowned professor in her field. The selection committee had been impressed by her salutatorian speech, which someone had posted online as a counterpoint to Erin's meltdown video. Professor Lee said my speech about choosing your own family resonated with her, Nadia said. She wants me to expand it into an essay for the university literary magazine. Meanwhile, Erin's life continued to implode. Jeff had filed a civil suit to recover deposits he'd paid for the wedding. The country club was pursuing criminal charges for the property damage. Her former employer was considering legal action over some inflammatory posts she'd made about the company. Mom called weekly, begging us to reconcile with Erin. Each time, we asked the same question. Has she apologized to Nadia? The answer was always no. By October, Nadia had settled into college life. She joined the debate team, started dating a nice engineering major named Alexander, and was thriving in her classes. When she came home for fall break, she seemed taller somehow. Not physically, but in the way she carried herself. We had dinner at my house. Me, Sarah, Leo, and Nadia. My son had made her a welcome home card with crooked letters and too much glitter. As we ate, Nadia told us about her professors, her new friends, and the research project she was starting. I ran into Charles on campus, she mentioned casually. He apologized for spray painting your door, said Aaron manipulated him into it. What did you tell him? Leo asked. That he's responsible for his own choices, but I appreciated the apology. After dinner, as we sat on the back porch watching my son chase fireflies, Nadia pulled out her phone and showed us an email. It's from Dad, she said. He wants to meet for coffee when I'm home for Thanksgiving. What are you going to do? I asked. She thought for a moment. I'll meet with him, but only if he comes alone, and only if he's ready to see me as me, not just as Aaron's little sister. And if he's not, then I'll finish my coffee and leave. I've got too much good in my life now to waste time on people who don't value me. As the evening wound down and Nadia prepared to head back to campus, she paused at the door. You know what the funny thing is? She said. If Aaron had just let me have my graduation, none of this would have happened. She'd be married, I'd be at college, and we'd all be playing our assigned family roles, but she couldn't give me even one day. Do you regret how it turned out? Sarah asked. Nadia smiled. For the first time in my life, I know who cares about me. That's worth more than a picture-perfect family. She hugged us all goodbye and drove off into the night, her graduation tassel still hanging from her rearview mirror. As we watched her taillights disappear, I realized she was right. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to a family is for the truth to finally come out, even if it tears everything apart. The next morning, I woke to find a text from Nadia. Made it back safe. Thanks for everything. P.S. Aaron posted another rant video. This time she's blaming Jeff's grandmother for poisoning him against her. Mom might need bail money again. I showed it to Sarah, who just shook her head. Your parents did create a monster. Yeah, I agreed. But at least Nadia escaped before it was too late. Leo texted the group, taking bets on how long before Aaron blames the wedding photographer for ruining her life. 2 weeks, I replied. 1 week, Sarah chimed in. Nadia's response made us all laugh. Bold of you to assume she hasn't already. As it turned out, we were all wrong. Aaron didn't blame the photographer. She sued him for emotional distress caused by his unauthorized graduation photos. The case was thrown out immediately, but not before making the local news again. By the time Thanksgiving rolled around, our family had permanently fractured into camps. Team Aaron consisted of our parents and a handful of relatives who still believed she was the victim. Team Nadia included me, Leo, Sarah, and a growing number of extended family members who'd finally seen through the favoritism. Dad did meet Nadia for coffee. She called me afterward, sounding thoughtful rather than upset. He listened, she said. Listened. He even admitted they'd failed me. That's progress, I said. Maybe. He also spent 20 minutes talking about how hard this has all been on Aaron, so, baby steps? Microscopic ones, but it's something. The real test came at Christmas. Our parents wanted to host the traditional family dinner, but with conditions. No one could mention the wedding, the graduation, or anything that had happened since June. So we're supposed to pretend everything's fine? Leo asked when Mom called with the invitation. It's Christmas, Mom pleaded. Can't we just have one normal holiday? We all declined. Instead, we hosted our celebration. Nadia came home from college with Alexander, who turned out to be a sweet kid who looked at her like she hung the moon. Aunt Carol joined us, along with several cousins who'd chosen our side. As we sat around my dining room table, Leo raised his glass. To Nadia, for teaching us all that sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the courage to say no. To Charles, Nadia countered, for being the first person to say yes to me. To all of us, Sarah added, for choosing each other. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Aaron's having a breakdown. Christmas is ruined. I hope you're all happy. I showed it at the table. Everyone looked at it, then at each other, then burst out laughing. You know what? Nadia said, still giggling. I am happy. Genuinely, truly happy. Looking around my table at the family we'd chosen, at Nadia glowing with confidence she'd never had before, at Leo finally relaxed and joking, I realized something important. Sometimes the price of peace is too high. Sometimes keeping the family together means sacrificing the ones who need you most. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is refuse to play along anymore. As we cleared the dishes, Nadia pulled me aside. I never thanked you properly, she said. Not just for the graduation, but for showing me I was worth fighting for. You were always worth fighting for, I said. I just wish we'd realized it sooner. She hugged me tightly. Better late than never. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Sarah and I sat in our quiet house. Our son was asleep upstairs, the dishwasher hummed in the kitchen, and for the first time in months, my phone wasn't buzzing with family drama. Any regrets? Sarah asked. I thought about Aaron, probably ranting to our parents about how unfair life was, about Mom and Dad, stuck with the monster they'd created, about the family gatherings we'd never have again. No, I said honestly, not one. My phone lit up with one final text from Nadia. Thank you for the best Christmas ever. Love you all. I smiled and put the phone away. Some stories don't get happy endings for everyone. Sometimes the best you can hope for is that the people who deserve happiness finally get to claim it. And sometimes that's more than enough.